happens if a janitor enters the back rooms? Three things can happen.
You're joking. He got stuck? No! No! No!
He's actually stuck.
Hello and welcome to the Basement Janitor Developer Commentary. In this video, I'll basically just be talking about the development process of my Roblox game, the Basement Janitor. And pretty much just cap about everything that led to the creation of this disgusting monstrosity of a video game. Because I couldn't think of anything better to do for the 100 subscriber special, and also because this game did way too good in terms of numbers. Anyways, if you've never heard of this game before, the link is in the description if you want to play. Here we are at the menu. But before I click that play button, I should probably tell you about the game the Basement Janitor is based on, that being The Backrooms Janitor by Wilter. This is a single player game where you play as a janitor who enters the backrooms and you have to explore various levels and get different endings. My game is based on one specific level that could be found in that game, that being the basement. This basement, mind you, was probably the absolute worst level in the whole game. It was so bad that I asked the game's developer if I could remake the whole level myself, as I had experience with using Roblox Studio. But he didn't let me. So I made an entirely separate game just to make that level actually good, which eventually devolved into its own thing. Also, I will be referring to the Backrooms Janitor a lot during this video, so I'll just refer to it as the OG because it's easier. Anyways, let's click the play button.
Yo, where's my goat, the Backrooms Janitor? Yo, what's good, my guy?
Fun fact, that is one of my first attempts at animating in Blender. But yeah, as you can see, we got our boy, the Backrooms Janitor from The Backrooms Janitor, as well as the Flashlight Kid. This Flashlight Kid is also a character from the OG, which I voice. This scene is packed with references to the OG. For example, this trapdoor right here is a loose recreation of the trapdoor that takes you to the basement in the OG. The janitor here mentions how he found a paper in level 188 that says there's an exit to the backrooms. If you know anything about the backrooms, you might recognize this level. This level is in the OG and it used to have a paper telling you how to escape the backrooms. You first need to get all the other endings and one of them was in the basement, which leads us to this scene. By the way, in case you didn't notice, I kept using the past tense there. That was because this all got removed in an update to the OG. Back to the cutscene. The Flashlight Kid keeps mentioning backrooms orbs and how you shouldn't trust them. This is an unfunny gag referring to one specific level of the OG that I really hated. In one of the levels, you would be placed in this giant field with kitchen furniture randomly scattered around. To escape, you would have to chase and catch this orb that is floating around the map. The issue here is that the game would never tell you there is an orb you have to catch. So when I first played years ago, I got stuck and frustrated. This led to me making one of the worst choices of my life, installing Discord, so I could join the game server and ask how to beat that level. So in short, I blame this orb for my downfall. And now it is in my game. Before I finally move from this cutscene, if you played the game, you might notice that skipping it is a little weird and doesn't happen instantly. This is because the skip is actually dependent on the code for the subtitles. It is only able to break away from the cutscene at the beginning of each subtitle. So if you click the skip button before one of the subtitles finishes, you will have to wait until that subtitle finishes to actually skip the cutscene. It's moronic, I know, but I honestly couldn't find a better way to code this because I'm just not a good game developer, I'm sorry. Also, yes, that was the sound from Undertale. The light turning on here is a direct reference to the beginning of the basement in the OG. And also, this room is a recreation of the original basement photo, just with different colors. I tried to make this whole intro sequence atmospheric with the music and the credits popping up on screen sometimes, because I think it looks cool. I was inspired by the way Pressure did it, where it would play some music at the beginning of your run until a monster attacks you. As a matter of fact, the music that plays in this intro was made by my music guy Drippy, who made like half of the music in this game. I say half because at one point he went radio silent and I couldn't talk to him. so some sections just have songs I found in the Roblox audio library. By opening this closet, you can get a badge called the Reference. The reference in question is a hoodie that the YouTuber Mr. Cat Plays wears on his Roblox avatar. The reason as to why I'm referencing this seemingly random Roblox slop creator is because the guy goes to my school in real life. So I thought it would be funny if he was in my game. I asked him to stream Basement Janitor or even make a video on it, but he just said, I'll look into it. And sadly there was never a Mr. Cat Plays playthrough of this game. Which I find funny because a YouTuber with 1 million subscribers played this game but not him. Also, the badge icon for this reference is a recreation of this image of Mr. Cat Plays. This picture is great, I love it. Further down, you'll eventually reach this room. You gotta find a way to get to that ladder so you can climb up to the hole in the roof. But when you interact with the spooky pit... I'm usually against cheap jump scares in horror games because, well, they're cheap, but I still think jump scares can be used to enhance the experience. Here I try to make the player think, it seems I need to get this ladder, and while they're preoccupied thinking that, most people wouldn't assume they would fall down this hole because the ladder is right there. But what they don't know is that the ladder is completely useless and a red herring. From what I've seen, this jump scare did get a reaction out of a lot of the people who played this game, so I think I did a good job. Anyways, here we are in the real basement. The game's description says it's inspired by doors, and that's mainly because of the randomly selected rooms you go through in most of the game. It starts off with you hearing this spooky radio, which you shouldn't realistically be able to hear because it's pretty far away, but it's the back room, so who cares. Also, don't bother questioning why there are crosses and skeletons and the weird purple windows here. My modeler Kobe just put it there because it looks cool, I guess. This also implies that the monster is a Christian, which enhances the horror. Here you gotta pass through 7 flooded rooms while trying not to get killed by the basement dweller. You gotta wade through the water because the janitor can't swim. And when you hear the scary music, you have to get on top of something so you don't get punched. First thing I want to say is the main thing I hated about the basement in the OG is that it's way too faithful to the source material. The way the original article goes is, okay, so there's this guy in the Backrooms Reddit who finds this new level and documents his exploration of it. He walks through a flooded hallway for an hour before reaching an area with cramped corridors where a zombie chases him until he finds an elevator. However, the zombie catches up to him, kills him, then deletes his Reddit account. The OG copies the layout of the basement as described in the article 1-to-1. So you just end up walking down flooded hallways for 10 entire minutes without anything happening. Then you reach a maze area with the monster, then you find an elevator and die, which gets you the ending. I don't have to tell you that this is not fun. I tried to give this flooded area some gameplay by having the dweller try and kill you as you traverse through it. And frankly, I could have done a better job. Most people when they play this get reminded of this one part in Amnesia: The Dark Descent, or this one part in Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion. Me personally, I never played either. I got the inspiration for this area from a crappy fear I have since childhood. Whenever I would be walking through a shallow water on a coral reef, I would constantly try to watch my step in case I stepped on some crab or sea urchin, because I could hardly see where I was walking. I tried to emulate this by having you not be able to see where the dweller is in the water, and your only indicator for him being nearby is this scary music. By the way, this music is a remix of the audio from this video.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah.
Some people get really scared in this section, some don't, but it is what it is. Also, you might see the dweller frequently jump around like a dolphin. This is not intentional and is a pathfinding bug, which I don't know how to fix. But I kept it in because A, I don't know how to fix it, and B, it's funny. At this point you might have realized I am not a very good programmer. So how did I manage to code randomly selected rooms like Doors does? A tutorial series, I used a tutorial series. In my defense, I only used it to code the random rooms, lockers, and the spawn points for almond water. Everything else was custom made and it really shows because it's not good. As for other miscellaneous things I can mention, you can find Tung 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 Sahur in one of the flooded rooms. This is the only reason that Stila Brainrot is mentioned as an inspiration for this game. There is a badge you get for encountering the rarest room in the game, which is this one. I can't tell you exactly how rare it is as I don't really understand my own code, but it's relatively rare. Some people even found this room in their first playthrough. It's a reference to one specific rare room in Pressure called the Heart of the Facility. I don't know man, I just think this goes hard so I want it in my game. After going through the water rooms you reach this area. There is a bug that will make you hear the danger music even though you are not in the water. And it's the most obvious here. Dweller's spawn point is somewhere on the left side of the room, so if you get on the platform and go near there, you'll start hearing the music until you either turn on the radio or jump in then out of the water. I still have no idea how to fix this, so whoops. Another thing I would like to mention is the Chinese Hitman poster. This was originally going to be used in this other Roblox game I was making called Laga, but that game won't be made, so I repurposed the poster for this room. Also, Chinese Hitman himself originates from this wonderful image. Anyways, by turning on the radio, you'll be able to listen to one of the few good jokes in this game. I ain't gonna lie, most of the humor in this game is absolute ass. Which is ironic considering my whole YouTube channel is about making comedy sketches and parodies. I don't know why, but my brain could hardly function while writing pretty much all of the dialogue in this game, and I apologize for that. Anyways, I might as well mention the voice actors here. If you played the game, you might notice the janitor sounds a little funny.
It appears that I am facing an angry bird. You couldn't have chosen a worse place to spread your propaganda. Bold of you to assume I can swim.
Shout out to Psych for voicing him, but I ain't lying when I say I did not tell him to put on a Sigma voice. He just did that. But I found it funny, so I started encouraging it. The radio here is voiced by Secret Bacon, a guy who I found in the voice acting Discord server. Originally the radio was supposed to be voiced by another guy who I found in the same place, but he got lazy and quit halfway through. Which is funny because the radio only has like 3 voice lines across the whole game. But this new guy did a better job either way, so that's good. If you played the game, you might have noticed he was credited for voicing the Dweller, even though the Dweller seemingly never speaks. This is because the voice on the radio is the Dweller. It's not broadcasting some news from the real world, it's just the Dweller speaking through the radio pretending to be a news reporter, just so he can mess with the janitor. This would have been explained in a section of the game that was never made, but as you know, that section was never made. So this video is the only place you'll learn this. The next thing I would like to point your attention toward is this toaster. This is actually an inside joke I had with Kobe, the modeler for this game. The joke was that he is lazy as fuck, and it took him way too long to make that toaster, even though it was an easy job for him. Every model you see in this game that isn't a free model was made by him. However, around halfway through development, Kobe got so lazy, he just quit working on the game, so I was left with building all the maps myself. From this point on, you'll start to see the quality of the maps decrease, because A, I built them, and B, I was getting sick of this game, so I was putting less and less effort into building these rooms. Also, after the game released and YouTubers started playing it, Kobe conveniently came back so he could replace some of the free models I used with custom ones. Because obviously I don't know how to model, so I had to cut corners at some points. Motherfucker only came back because the game was actually doing good. Before I move on to the actual mazes, I want to show you this symbol on these pillars. Kobe wanted to make a little cryptic symbol with some meaning. We tried thinking up how this maybe represents the basement and how it's below the backrooms because it's a basement. But ultimately the symbol has no real meaning and is just there to exist. I'm pretty sure no one even noticed it during actual gameplay. Now we are at the lever rooms. The part of the game you'll be spending the most time in, and my personal favorite. Basically, I tried adapting the maze area from the OG, and by extension the original basement article, where you're in a maze with cramped hallways trying to sneak away from the Dweller. Problem is, I don't want this to be like a generic Roblox horror game where you just run around the maze while the monster chases you. So I had an idea. What if the monster was faster than you? You'll have to stick nearby these lockers scattered around the map. and remember their locations, otherwise the dweller will easily whoop your ass. You'll also have to pay attention to dweller's unrealistically loud footsteps, so you can know where he is. I personally think I did a pretty alright job with this section. Everyone I've seen play it did seem to get spooked, and even I get jump scared sometimes while playing it. But a thing I should really talk about now is the dweller's AI. As you know, I am not very smart, and by extension, not a smart programmer. So programming this guy's AI was probably the hardest thing to do in this whole game. But first, I needed a pathfinding module, because I am not Albert Epstein, therefore I can't code my own pathfinding algorithm. After searching and searching, I decided to settle on this one called Simple Path. It wasn't the best choice, as the dweller would still get stuck on the geometry, but it got the job done. There was a bug where the dweller would just cease to move, and I for the life of me couldn't figure out why. So I called up the goat Fabian, and he fixed it with just one line of code. Shout out to Fabian, because without him this game could never be possible. Another funny bug that happened during development is that one of my playtesters managed to spawn in a second dweller by complete accident. Then, when he tried it again, there were 4. But I sadly have no images or videos of that. This happened if you were able to press the skip cutscene button on the radio fast enough, so you could click it multiple times before it faded away, which spawned in multiple dwellers. I just felt like mentioning this here because it was funny. Speaking of bugs, it is time for me to talk about the bug, the infamous locker bug that appears in almost every YouTube playthrough of this game. Basically, whenever you're running away from Michael Afton over here and you hide in a locker, there is a rare chance that he will just stand in front of the locker instead of punching it and walking away like usual. He will just sit there until you exit and get punched. This bug isn't even that old, as it appeared relatively late while I was making his AI, and I have no idea how to fix it. No amount of examining the code, print statements and troubleshooting could give me even a single clue to what was causing it. My bro Gemini couldn't solve it, heck even the goat Fabian got stumped. That was when I knew it was over. This bug will probably haunt the game forever, because no one plays this game anymore, so there isn't really much incentive for me to fix it now. Also, while we're on the topic of locker bugs, you can do this. I don't know how to fix this either. As for the rest of his AI, this turned out better than I expected for the most part. With how unpredictable his AI is, it sometimes feels like the guy is camping at specific spots, and even like he sometimes knows where you are, even though he actually doesn't. Some people say it's a bad thing, but I personally like it. I feel like it gives the guy more character and definitely fits his personality, with him basically just playing around with the janitor for shits and giggles. Yeah, lore-wise, this guy could eviscerate the janitor in less than a second, but chooses not to because he's bored. I actually took inspiration from the original basement article for this, because I find it really funny how the dweller straight up deletes his victim's backroom's Reddit account, for no real reason. Also, the animation where he helps you get back up after punching you to the ground was directly inspired by this animation from Pressure. Hello, this is me while editing. So, one thing I forgot to mention is that, you know how every time the dweller, like after he punches you, he trips over and falls with a stupid sound effect? Yeah, that's actually a bug that they didn't know how to fix. So I just added a silly sound effect every time it would happen to make it look intentional. You know, it's not a bug, guys, you know, it's a feature. Anyways, now I'll talk about the mazes themselves. Originally, I wanted each maze to be completely randomly selected, however, I didn't really know how to make it so existing mazes don't repeat. So, the way it works is each maze has a 50% chance to be one of 2 mazes. First one can either be maze 1 or maze 2, second one can either be maze 3 or maze 4, etc. I should have probably put more effort into fixing this, but I'm way too lazy to do that now. As for the visuals of the rooms, if you played the game you might notice the designs start going all around the place. Suddenly you go to a coal mine, then a hedge maze, then an office area, and don't even get me started on the chase rooms, I'll get to those. At this point I was getting really sick of building these maps, so I just decided to start doing completely random stuff because it was mildly more entertaining than building the same types of rooms over and over again. Now I'll comment on the individual mazes. The first one has the most detail in it. This is because this is the last room that Kobe built before quitting. So you'll start to notice the build quality heavily decline from this point onward. The visual design was based on this one Roblox game we played, called The Backrooms Redacted Survival, which I ain't gonna lie, this game sucks ass. It was literally just a walking simulator 90% of the time I spent playing it, but this game did feature the basement, and I think it looks pretty neat. So me and Kobe based the design of this maze on this game's version of the basement. Originally all of the mazes were supposed to look like this, but I already told you how that went. The next one is a coal mine, and I don't really have much to say for this one other than these yellow things on the walls are supposed to be coral. Kobe just made these things and called them coral. This is because they appear mostly underwater. Next up is the hedge maze. I really liked the courtyard area in Doors Hotel just because of the vibes, so I wanted to replicate that here a little. Except obviously the sky is full of eyeballs. The reason for this is because the OG uses the exact same skybox. However, in that game it's only visible when you died and fall through the map. I really like the vibe of this maze, I think it's pretty neat. Also, this maze has a statue of the Dweller with text that is a direct reference to Thanos from Squid Game. Next is the quote-unquote hospital. This maze really has nothing to do with hospitals aside from the textures. The reason you see these black smears around the map is because at the time I was scared this could get age restricted. Because at the time of me building this map, Roblox just started doing that. So these were originally supposed to be bloodstains but are instead ink. Didn't stop my game from becoming 16 plus anyway because fuck Roblox. Anyways, this skeleton looking at the chair is a direct reference to this legendary image. And these two skeletons on the toilets are a reference to these kinds of images, which I find really funny. Also, you can actually hide behind one of these toilets and a Dweller won't spot you. It's a pretty good strat. Next are the red rooms. These are straight from the Backrooms fandom wiki and appeared in the OG, so I wanted it to be in my game. Also because it was very easy to build. There is this paper on a wall telling the tragic tale of Mr. Martinovic. This is based on an actual historical event that happened on May 1st, 1985. A Serbian farmer named George Martinovic shoved a beer bottle up his ass. It shattered. He ended up in the hospital. And when he was questioned about it, he said he was assaulted by some Albanians because he was too embarrassed to admit the truth. This led to actual escalations in conflict in Yugoslavia, by the way. I made this image which was supposed to be on that paper, however Roblox moderated it saying I was threatening someone's privacy, so I sadly wasn't allowed to use it. Next up we have whatever this room is. I really like Roblox's neon texture, so I made an entire maze using just that. It may be the simplest out of all of the mazes, but I really like the visuals here, I think they're really neat. Now we are at the final maze. This is supposed to be like an office area. I tried to take a little inspiration from level 4 on the Backrooms wiki, but you can see how that went. There is this poster in one of the rooms which is only there because the voice actor of the Bad Piggy told me to put it in the game. Hope you're happy. This maze also has what I'm pretty sure is the clock from Roblox Doors. Me and Kobe found a model for a clock from Doors in the list of free models, and we decided to put it in this game as a little inside joke. You would see most of the models in this game are custom made, and then you just see this random clock from Doors. I just think that's a little funny. Once you flip all the levers, you reach this telephone, where a cutscene plays as the Dweller watches you from the dark. I like this cutscene as it puts the monster that's been chasing you the entire time right in front of you, with you being completely unable to move. Also, the scary message you hear coming from the phone is actually an edited version of this audio.
Come on, just stroking my dick. I got no shit on my dick right now. Just stroking my shit. I'm horny as fuck, man. I'm a freak, man.
I have no idea how Roblox allowed me to put that in the game, but I'm glad they did. In the next room over, you find BNB. Now this guy has a crap ton of lore as he originates from my Fat Gamer videos. At first he was supposed to be a parody of this YouTuber called Cheddar Balls, who makes shitty Doors Theory videos. But now he has grown to be his own character and one of my YouTube channel's main mascots. The high-pitched voice is supposed to be an over-exaggeration of Cheddar Ball's voice, because it's pretty high-pitched. As for him being James Dokes, I guess it's because he makes doors theories, therefore he is very good at solving mysteries and stuff like that. I don't know, I just think the juxtaposition between his voice and his appearance is very funny. Also, in case you were wondering, BNB stands for Big Ninja Balls. Since we're on the topic of NPCs, I might as well talk about the rest of them. The more times you die in this game, the more NPCs spawn throughout the intro sequence. I wanted to do this so death doesn't feel too repetitive. The first one you'll encounter is Jerry. This guy is an entity from the Backrooms wiki and appears in the OG. However, in those versions, he doesn't talk. His whole thing is that if you touch him, you get brainwashed into joining his cult. You can find one of the cult's posters at the beginning of the water rooms. I just found Jerry funny, so I wanted to put him in this game. Turns out I put a lot of things in this game because I found them funny. Weird. Next up is Harry, who you might notice has very weird animations. I ain't gonna lie, I got seriously lazy while animating him, so I just put him in completely random poses and disguised it as a quirk of his. I am not very good at animating characters talking, I'm much better with animating action like attacking and whatnot, but animating stuff like this just makes me want to cry. Also, this isn't the only moment in the game you see Harry. He actually appears in this maze on this couch. See, he's even Employee of the Month. Wow! Next up is Ipo Hernandez 779. This guy is another Fat Gamer character and he's supposed to be based on Kobe, this game's modeler. This is because he's a boxer and he's Latino. You can tell he is because we made a Spanish text-to-speech trying to pronounce English words. Also, he's a friend of BNB and one of his only personality traits is always saving his friends. You can clearly tell this guy is based off Kobe because he gives up after like 5 minutes of searching for his friend because he's lazy. Here we have the Bad Piggy, another Fat Gamer character. He's voiced by Dutch, who was this game's main playtester. I don't have much to say about Bad Piggy, he's just there. This loser appears as well, but we don't like him, and finally we have the Dweller. I find it funny how the guy that's trying to kill you this whole game just shows up and chills there with the rest of the gang. BNB is also here and he has a quest for you, but I'll talk about that later. Once you die enough times, this crowbar spawns in and you can go into this secret room that skips straight to the start of the water area. Here is also the orb, which I mentioned at the beginning of this video. This guy actually talks to you every time you die and is kind of serving the same role as the guiding light from Doors. The orb was supposed to look way different, however, due to Roblox's lighting magically changing between studio and the actual game, he ended up looking like this. You can see the orb has been playing Steel Abadi on his computer, and BNB also mentions his favorite game was Grow Abadi. These used to be real Roblox games, but they have since been taken down. This room has a poster for Malachite Munch, which was made by Soup Tea, who used to be a developer for the OG. I don't remember why he made this, but he let me use it in my game, so thanks for that. And finally we have this Bad Piggy poster, which was made by Bad Piggy's voice actor Dutch. He demanded me to put this in the game as well, so here it is. We're back where we left off, where you gotta eat these greasy marshmallows. These are from the Backrooms wiki and appear as an item in the OG. But in the lore, these are actually pretty volatile to your health if you eat them without melting them first. However, the janitor in this game is a Chad, so the marshmallows instead just cure his asthma and now you gotta spam V to run. Yes, this is a pretty unorthodox way to implement running, but I needed some way to differentiate this chase sequence from the ones indoors. I wanted to emulate the actual feeling of sprinting with this, because you have to put effort to keep your character moving fast, and I think I did alright. Maybe I could have put a better key to spam, but I couldn't think of which, so I settled for V. Also, the radio yapping you hear while running down this hallway is a word-for-word, bar-for-bar recitation of the Dweller's lore from the original Basement article. When you reach the end of the hallway, Dweller does an insane flip, which was honestly my favorite thing to animate in this game. And the chase starts. It's a pretty simple chase sequence, jump over the obstacles and crouch when you need to, and you'll be good. All the while spamming that V button, of course. Yeah, you can tell this chase would have been 10 times more boring without the spamming. Also, I do admit this chase goes on for a while, but I'm too lazy to do anything about that. Also, if you outrun the Dweller in the first few rooms, it takes him a while to catch up to you because you're just faster than him. I thought about making a feature post-launch where after a certain amount of time passes, he speeds up. But I'm way too lazy to do that. Also, you can really tell that these maps were made when I started to get really sick of working on this game. This one, for example, has a bunch of furniture to serve as obstacles, and the rest of them have lazily placed crates, and the maps themselves get less and less detail over time. If you played the game, you might have noticed the chase music sounds a bit goofy. This is because it was originally a placeholder for pretty much all the songs in the game before Drippy replaced them with his own. I found it in the Roblox Studio toolbox simply labeled Mexican Chase, so I thought it was a stock song. But no, it apparently originates from Skylanders, in this specific boss fight. I know nothing about Skylanders, by the way, but unfortunately my music guy died or something, so I ended up using this song as the final one. The guy was actually making progress on the chase theme but never got around to finishing it. Here, I'll play it right now. Now I'll talk about the chase rooms individually. First, we have these rooms. I took inspiration from those rooms in SCP Containment Breach and in SCP games in general. I wanted to make the walls look nice. Next, we have this void area with giant dweller heads. This might be one of my favorite rooms in the game just because of the way it looks. I really like void-like environments in video games. I used my trusty neon material to replicate it here. This room is just a fantasized interior of a pyramid, and this room is an ice cave. Yeah, you can see these are getting pretty random. This giant obstacle course looking area is loosely based on the pool rooms, and the giant ball in the middle is actually the original design for the orb. It's more similar to the orb in the OG. However, eventually I decided to change up the design to make it less boring. I don't really know what this hallway is supposed to be. I wanted to stylize the walls with random metal doohickeys, and the insides of the walls are actually flesh. And the whole room is covered in red. For some reason I really locked in for this one, I don't know why. This is a weird forest with huge white lasers shooting from the skies. I just wanted to make another outside area and needed something to spice it up, so I put giant neon cylinders. This room is apparently supposed to be the inside of a boat, but I just got really lazy here. And this room is supposed to be a warehouse area. This is just straight up level 0 from the backrooms. I was running out of ideas for rooms here, but then I remembered this is a backrooms game, so we gotta include level 0 at least a little more. This room was originally based on level 3 of the backrooms wiki, as you can see from the brick wall texture. However, one of my playtesters was in a VC, watching me build it, and pointed out that it kind of looks like an ice cream sandwich. So the whole room is about ice cream sandwiches now. All of these images you see here are the first things that pop up when you search ice cream sandwich on the images in Roblox Studio Toolbox. I have no idea who this is, but he appeared in the search list, so he's here now. This room is like a laundromat, however I just copy-pasted the laundry machine model to make the walls. This room is supposed to be a Doors reference, but you can't tell because I suck at building, plus I was lazy. And this room is supposed to be a pressure reference. It was based on one of these rooms from the game, but as you know, at this point I was pretty much done with this game and wanted to stop developing it as soon as possible. This room is a reference to the end level from the Backrooms wiki, as you can see from this sign, but everything else is just blocks. And finally we have the alien room. There is this alien texture that is used only a couple times in this game. It is in this flooded room right next to the Mr. Cat Plays t-shirt, and it's the texture of this wall blocking your path until you eat the marshmallows. I decided to base this entire room off this one material because I was completely creatively bankrupt at this point. Before we reach the ending, I want to mention my design choice for this game having no checkpoints. Firstly, it was because no Doors games have them, and secondly, I noticed that whenever I played horror games without checkpoints, an example being Welcome to the Game, that I would get scared more and more as I progressed. This is because at that point you stop fearing the jump scares and you start fearing losing your progress. I like it when horror games utilize difficulty to add tension, so I wanted to try it out of this game too, though I'm not really sure if I succeeded. Also, if you're wondering why this game doesn't have any revives like Doors, It's because I did not know how to code them and I am lazy. And now we are at the end. The janitor dies, and the orb gives a little fourth wall breaking speech and you win. The main character in the basement article dies when they reach an elevator, which also happens in the OG, so naturally this game would end the same way. I don't really have much to say about this cutscene aside from the fact that I coded the janitor to change facial expressions, however the lighting forbids you from actually seeing that. Anyways, let's go to Africa. You might have forgotten, but after dying a couple times, B&B gives you a quest to find 3 secret buttons to escape the backrooms. Once you find these buttons, you get teleported to Africa, which is where the worst piece of dialogue I ever wrote resides. Firstly, I gotta talk about the person you meet here. This is the Laga entity. When me and Kobe were working on our last project, Laga, anytime a weird bug would pop out of nowhere, we blamed it on an evil spirit haunting the game, which we called the Laga entity. For some reason, at some point, that title also went to one of the members in our Discord server, Rekia, who actually voices the Laga entity here. She also drew some of the badge icons and mobile buttons for this game, but at some point she quit because she got lazy. That's why some of the badge icons are random images instead of drawings. Kind of a weird pattern that almost everyone who worked on this game quit at some point due to laziness. I wanted to quit too, as you can see from the build quality on some of the maps, but I was too far in development to just cancel the game. As for the abysmal dialogue I mentioned earlier, this cutscene is just severely unfunny. And I'm usually good at writing comedy. If you watch my videos, you'd know that. But I don't know what happened with this cutscene in particular. I guess the Laga entity took over and sabotaged me, I don't know. Also, this one part during the cutscene is actually just this meme.
张牙舞爪，健身操，祝您健康，步步高，噜噜哒。
Anyways, we are at the portal now. This portal only opens if you have all the badges that appear on these pedestals. Once you enter the portal, you officially beat the basement janitor and I get beaten to death. Fun fact, the music that plays during the credits is from the Roblox audio library, and it's literally called Angry Birds. If it wasn't for the name, I wouldn't have used this song. Remember how I mentioned that Dweller's use of the radio to speak would have been explained in an area of the game that was never made? That area would have been here. I envisioned you going to some glitchy dimension and getting a shotgun, then having an entire boss fight with the Dweller until you finally escape the backrooms. Then the janitor and the Dweller go for a kebab. If I tried making this, then the game wouldn't have even been released by the time I am making this video. And also it just wasn't worth it. Barely anyone even reached this point anyways. So that's it. I wasted a year of my life developing this game, even though realistically it should have taken only a couple months. Even though it is the second Roblox game I ever made. On the bright side, the game performed better than I could have hoped for. Special thanks to the Capperos N for making a video about this game, because if it wasn't for this video, no one would have played it. The main success for this game comes from Rogart's video, but if it wasn't for the Capperos, he would have never even heard of this game. So again, a big thanks to Capperos if you're watching. Also, my original goal for remaking the basement in the OG was technically reached, as the developer replaced the basement in that game with a link to my game instead. If you get the badge for dying in the basement janitor, there is a chance you might encounter the Dweller as an NPC in the OG who you can trade with. Thanks for watching. I probably put way too much effort into this video, even though it probably won't get any views, as it's pretty different than what I usually do. But I wanted to do something for a 100 subscriber special and I couldn't think of anything better. Also, Google tells me that on average it takes people 61 days to reach 100 subscribers. Even though it took me like 2 years. This just shows that my future couldn't be brighter. As for what I'm doing next, I'm not making Roblox games anymore. Firstly, because of the shitty updates Roblox is pushing out, which apparently includes paying money to publish updates to your games, which is super fun. And also because I mean it's Roblox. And I feel genuine shame whenever I call myself a game developer, then remember the only games I made were in Roblox. So I'm moving to Godot. I'm making a short crappy little horror game about Light Pederich, a character for my videos, so I can learn the engine a bit. If you want to play the Basement Janitor, the link is in the description. And there is also the link to my Discord server, which you can join if you're curious about my upcoming projects. Anyways, like and subscribe to FatGamer912, and have a good day.